This is not the world that we thought we'd ever be living in. This country's turning 250 years old. It was created in a revolt against a monarchy for freedoms. And 250 years later, we've yet to achieve those freedoms for all people who call this country home. New York for All is on the pathway to ensuring that people have their freedoms enshrined in our state law.
Murad Awawdeh.
Good to see you.
Do they usually say your name wrong when you go on the news?
90% of the time wrong.
So, New York for All, what is it?
So across the state of New York, local police are actually stepping in to support immigration enforcement, which is not their job. Their job is to actually protect local communities, but instead they've taken it upon themselves to work with the Trump administration's dragnet and their war on immigrants in this moment. New York for All has been a bill that we've been fighting for over 6 years. It would ban the formal and informal collusion between local police and immigration enforcement. The local collusion that's happening, it's mostly all informal. And it's also probably the most dangerous. We had a resident in Greene County who was a domestic violence victim who went to the police for help. And then the police turned the victim over to immigration enforcement. A refugee, Mr. Shah Alam, a blind man, a father who stumbled into someone's backyard, not being able to see where he's going, was then arrested by local police. And then the sheriff's office turned him over to immigration enforcement. They released him after months of being in detention and left him in the freezing cold to navigate his way from a coffee shop home, and ended up dying in the street. He escaped genocide to only be murdered in the United States. Now the Erie County medical examiner is saying that this was a homicide, which we all believe it was explicit murder. We're calling on officials to criminally investigate every single person who had a hand in his murder.
There's like this tendency that we only want to blame Donald Trump. But like in this instance, the local sheriff called the people who work for Donald Trump. And we have a state legislature who's had this bill before them for 6 years now that would have stopped this from happening. So it seems like there's more people responsible for this man's death.
Yeah, I think every level of government needs to step up. You know, it was great that the mayor of Buffalo signed an executive order making the city of Buffalo a sanctuary city, but that only goes so far. We saw just recently a data report that came out that illustrated that more than 2/3 of the people that they have been arresting have had no interactions with law enforcement. And about 26% here in New York City of those people were collateral arrests, people that they weren't even looking for, people that they just stumbled across. And then ICE grabbed them up and shipped them across the country to put them through deportation proceedings elsewhere. How does any of this make any sense to our elected leaders right now? This is not the New York that we say and espouse that we are. In this moment, what we need to do is pass smart public safety measures like New York for All to ensure that we're protecting every single New Yorker, all 19 million of us who call this state home. New York for All has the most support it's ever had in the history of fighting for this bill. We have more than enough votes in the Assembly, more than enough votes in the Senate. If the bills are put on the floor today, which they should be put on the floor today, and were voted on, we would pass them. People watching this can take action. You can send an email to your state legislators by visiting nyic.me/NY4all.